Myself, Professor B.N. Kalunkhe, Head Department of Zoology, RBNB College, Srirampur. Today I am going to discuss effects of water pollution, greenhouse effect or global warming. Besides acid rain, ozone layer depletion, this one is another effect caused by air pollution, which is called as greenhouse effect or global warming. Greenhouse effects means to increase in concentration of greenhouse gases. That results in increased temperature of Earth's surface. Increased concentration of greenhouse gases, which results in increasing temperature of Earth's surface. There are various greenhouse gases. For example, CO2, carbon dioxide, CH4, methane, CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons, ozone, water vapors, and hydrocarbons. These are various greenhouse gases. Carbon dioxide, methane, chlorofluorocarbons, ozone, and water vapor. Out of these gases, water vapors and CO2, these are important. They trap solar energy, radiance, sun rays, and increase temperature of Earth's surface. The percentage of CO2, carbon dioxide, in the atmosphere, that is troposphere or stratosphere region of atmosphere, that contains about nearly 50%. About 50% CO2 is found in a troposphere or stratosphere of atmosphere. It is mainly concentrated in industrial area. Industrial area shows higher concentration of such CO2, carbon dioxide. Methane percent is about 19 in the atmosphere. The percentage of chlorofluorocarbons is about 17%, and then that reduces. For example, ozone 8%, water vapors 4%, etc. these are major gases. These are major gases which are found in the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide, methane, chlorofluorocarbons, ozone, and water vapor or hydrocarbons. Out of these three are most important because of their higher concentration. And in the atmosphere, CO2 with water vapors, they trap or absorb sun rays, that is sunlight, commonly called as ultraviolet light. They absorb ultraviolet light. Suppose this one is a earth region, earth surface. There is a layer of a gas, for example, ozone layer. Ozone layer, which is away from Earth's surface at about 23 to 25 kilometers. There is a thick layer of ozone. Similarly, there is another layer of CO2. Thick layer of CO2, carbon dioxide. From the sun, sun rays, ultraviolet radiations, they passes or penetrates on the Earth's surface. They passes on the Earth's surface. When amount, that is percentage of CO2, this one layer is a thick layer of CO2, for example. When there is a normal concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere, this layer does not allow to penetrate or pass all sun rays or sunlight on the Earth's surface. They reflect some amount of sun energy back into atmosphere. This layer of CO2 that reflects some amount of radiant energy back into atmosphere, and hence limited amount of radiant energy that is allowed to penetrate or fall on the Earth's surface. When there is a problem, this layer becomes thin. When sun rays passes towards the Earth's surface, that increases heat or temperature of Earth's surface. And particular heat or temperature is required for proper growth of plants. Proper growth of plants and ultimately survival of animals, using as a food material such plants, that is producers. This temperature is required for plant growth, that is to support all life on the Earth's surface. To support all life on the Earth, temperature is required. when there is an absence of sunlight on the earth's surface, earth becomes cool and does not favor any growth of plants. Earth's surface, that is land, becomes barren. But due to presence of sun rays, growth of plant takes place. It is a life support system. Emission of sun rays, finally that falls on the ground. But when there is a proper percentage, that is normal percentage of CO2 in the atmosphere, that maintains supply of sunlight which falls on the earth's surface, that maintains proper maintenance of falling of such light on the earth's surface. Because when sun rays emits from sun and that reaches in this layer of atmosphere containing CO2, much of radiant energy is reflected back. It is reflected back into atmosphere. It is reflected back, and some amount of energy, radiant energy, is absorbed here or trapped here into layer of CO2 and water vapors found in the atmosphere. Sun energy is trapped by CO2 layer and water vapors, and that absorbed energy then passes towards the earth's surface. It is passed towards the earth's surface. It is a normal functioning of transfer of radiant energy from sun to earth's surface. When the percentage of such gases is normal or proper in the atmosphere, but due to human activities, that is industrialization, the amount of such gases, carbon dioxide from different industries, for example, thermal power station, coal is used for production of electricity. Burning of coal, for example, that emits more amount of CO2 in the atmosphere, or burning of fossil fuels in various industries. Burning of fossil fuels, burning of coal, that add large amount of CO2 in the atmosphere. Similarly, methane is added, excess amount of methane is added. For example, it is a product of gobar gas, domestic waste material. It is a product of gobar gas. Then chlorofluorocarbon, it is produced by some equipments, appliances used in house, domestic use. For example, refrigerators, cooling agent, AC, air conditioners, that produce such gas, chlorofluorocarbon. That gas is added to surrounding environment, that is atmosphere. And these are responsible for causing or damaging the normal level of such different layers and shows adverse effects. That is, they cause greenhouse effect, commonly called as global warming. Global warming is a term which is used to denote higher temperature of Earth's surface due to excess amount of CO2. CO2 is responsible to increase a temperature of Earth's surface. That increased Earth's surface temperature due to CO2 is called as global warming. And increased concentration of such different gases, it is commonly called as greenhouse effect. For example, greenhouse is a glass house. It is a glass house. Greenhouse is a glass house, like this, for example. This one is a roof region. It is made up of glass. And here there is a farming inside closed container. Here there is a farming, growth of crops, important vegetables, for example, growth of plants, vegetables, crops, etc. Inside that glass house, this farming is generally practiced. It is a special farming, greenhouse farming. It is called as greenhouse farming. It is a special type of farming by use of such shade constructed with the help of glass material. And this is practiced in cold climatic regions, extremely cold climatic regions, where temperature is very low. Where temperature is very low in certain regions, and for proper growth of plants, temperature is required. And in this house, temperature is increased or maintained. Temperature is maintained inside this closed container, which is called as greenhouse. It is made up of glass material. When from the sunlight falls on this region, glass material, when sun rays that falls on that glass material, some amount of sun rays, they are allowed to pass here inside the house. Sun rays are allowed to pass here. They fall on the ground level. The glass allows for penetration of sun rays. Penetration of sun rays inside this house. But it does not allow reflection of light outside the house. It does not allow to reflect sun rays in the atmosphere. Sun rays are not allowed to pass back into atmosphere. Here sun rays are trapped. That result in increase in temperature level. Here temperature of that soil is increased. That favors growth of crops, vegetables. They are essential for growth of crops, vegetables, etc. Here, inside this house, these gases also contribute. These gases also contribute trapping of sunlight. For example, CO2, methane, CFCs, they contribute in trapping or absorbing sunlight. Suppose here these are the different gases, CO2, CH4, CFCs. These gases does not allow passing out sun rays, that is reflection of sun rays back into atmosphere. They does not allow. Hence they are useful to increase temperature inside this region in cold climatic condition, and their amount is normal. That is, their percentage of CO2, percentage of methane, percent of CFCs is normal. They are helpful to increase a soil temperature inside this region. But when their amount is more, addition of these gases is more by different industries, that shows some adverse effects. Generally, they increase temperature level of earth, that is soil, for example. Constant increase in temperature level of earth's surface and surrounding atmosphere. And that phenomenon is called as global warming. And they are responsible for melting ice caps in glaciers, or for example in Antarctica region. In Antarctica region, ice caps are melted due to higher temperature which is caused by CO2. When melting of ice takes place, that results in formation of flood, and such water, excess water from ice caps, is added to seawater. Finally, it is added to seawater. That is added to seawater. That results into increased level of water in the seawater, marine water ecosystem. That rises level of water. And in future, when there is a constant increase in CO2, that becomes responsible for melting of ice caps, and that results in increased level of water in seawater body, and that may becomes harmful to human population living in near coastal areas because of increase in water level. It is about a greenhouse effect or global warming that also results in destruction of plants, excess amount of CO2, high temperature that affects growth of plants in forests, that result in habitat destruction for wildlife. These are some adverse effects of increased temperature due to CO2 level in the atmosphere. Next topic is sound pollution. Sound pollution, like other pollution like water, air, soil, sound pollution is defined as dumping of unwanted sound in the surrounding atmosphere. In the surrounding atmosphere, and that potentially cause several adverse effects. on the body of human beings and animals. Loudness of sound is called as sound pollution. That sound is produced by human activities. It is produced by human activities. For example, use of vehicles, motorcycles, car, buses, trucks, etc. Then various industries. These are the main sources of production of a loud sound. Vehicles, burning of fossil fuels by the vehicles that also emit large amount of CO2. Vehicles, they produce loud sound. Similarly, machineries which are found in different industries, they create large volumed sound, increased level of sound, loudness of sound, high loudness of sound they produce, and they produce several adverse effects. The loudness of sound it is also called as intensity of sound. Is measured by a unit. Intensity of sound is measured by a unit called as decibel. Loudness of sound is measured by a unit. That unit is called as decibel. And frequency, that is vibrations of sound. Frequency, that is vibrations of sound, is measured by another unit which is called as hertz. These are the two units of measurement of sound. Intensity of sound, that is loudness, it is measured by such unit, decibel, and frequency is measured by hertz. For example, suppose the frequency of sound which is produced by traffic, vehicles, is about 4,000 to 6,000 hertz. It causes adverse effect on hearing capacity of human being. Hearing capacity of ear, loss of hearing capacity. Similarly, when loudness, that is intensity of sound, is more than 90 dB, for example, or 90 to 100 dB, loudness of sound is about 90 to 100 dB produced by traffic, that is vehicles, for example trucks, buses. that also result in damage of hearing capacity, loss of hearing capacity. It may cause temporary loss or permanent loss. And for example, when sound is produced by radio music system, DJ, and it is more than about 35 to 40 decibel sound level produced by any vehicle, that affects hearing capacity communication, speech communication. It mainly shows two effects. First effect is called as audible effect, and another one is called as non-audible effect. That is physical disorders. Audible effects includes loss of hearing. It may be temporary loss or permanent loss. That is called as deafness. Physical discomfort. Adverse effects related to hearing capacity. These effects are called as audible or auditory effects. They are related to hearing capacity of ear. And non-auditory effects. These are physiological disorders. For example, excess loud sound, more than 150 decibel, produced by airplanes, that results into permanent loss of hearing, that is called as deafness, and it shows some adverse effects on body of human being. For example, that causes neurosis, damage to nervous system, anxiety, fatigue, hypertension, increase in blood pressure, increase in level of cholesterol, that results into heart attack or stroke. These are effects on visual effects on gastrointestinal activities, effects on body of pregnant women. It shows large number of disorders, increased level of sound that shows such different disorders, which are called as physiological disorders that occurs into body of human being. Thank you.